everybody. My name is Motsabi Jelele from South Africa in Johannesburg. Good evening to all of you there in India. Thank you so much. I have to thank the Coconut Theatre for having me here on this platform. The Coconut Theatre presents Chai Wai and Rangmanch. I thought I should talk to you about the power of voice in the theatre. Both as voice being the muscle of communication and the form of expression. And by reflecting on some of my theatre experiences over the years, I hope that in the simplicity of these experiences or the stories that I'm going to tell and share with you, they will make sense to you as they've made sense to me. A lot of them, left an indelible mark on me as a person. I always remember the lifelong lessons that I've learned from those experiences and stories. So I hope that through those experiences, you will get to see the reflections of how the power of our voice in the theatre plays out. So let me just give you a background of who I am, or where I come from. Well, as I said, my name is Motsabi Jelele, and I was born and bred in Soweto, the biggest and most famous township, I think, in the world. It's just outside Johannesburg in South Africa. I went to school there, and when I was in my final year in high school, the situation in South Africa was very, very volatile. It was on fire, literally, particularly in the township. There were lots of unrest and our schooling was disrupted. But I was lucky enough to have an opportunity to go study further at Waterford Kamhlaba, which is a United World College of Southern Africa in Swaziland. Swaziland is a very small country just outside South Africa. So I went to Swaziland. I studied at Waterford and I did my international baccalaureate course. And then after that, I went to the University of Cape Town, where I did my speech and drama course. And upon finishing my course there, I came back to South Africa, to Johannesburg, where I started working as an actor in both the theatre and stage and film and television. Okay, sorry. So, and after that, during that time, I also got a chance to work on industrial theatre in Johannesburg, which gave me an opportunity to not only, kind of give my skills as an actor, but I managed to kind of dabble into directing. So I directed a few industrial theatre projects. And then around that time later on, I realized that there wasn't enough acting material for women, let alone Black women. And who to blame? Well, I had no one to blame but ourselves or myself. All the fingers pointed at me to say that if we don't have enough acting material out there, so whose task is it really to make sure that we do? I then challenged myself, about the issue of not having enough acting material for women, let alone Black women. I then thought, okay, right, create. If you see the need, attend to the need. So I challenged myself and wrote my very, very first play, which is called Shwele Bawo, A Grave Injustice. This play tackles issues of the abuse of women and children, addresses issues of the justice system, the role of the media in our societies, and a number of things. I guess I also questioned, or rather addressed the question of this rapidly disintegrating moral fiber in our society. It was a wonderful process, but I'll probably tell you more about it later. It is published in a book called At This Stage, Plays from Post-Apartheid South Africa. And I'm grateful for that. It was quite an achievement for me as a first-time writer who never regarded herself as a writer, to have a product like that, and to have Wits University Press approach me and say, we would like to publish this play for you. So it was an achievement. Wow. So that's a bit about me. I mean, if we have to talk about our lives, I guess we will never finish, So today, why the power of voice in the theatre, one might ask? Well, growing up in South Africa, in a country that rendered its native people voiceless, our leaders were killed, detained, forced into exile. And for what? Well, because they spoke truth to power. They challenged the status quo. But despite all of those challenges, the people found an outlet for their stories, in the theatre. During the time, those difficult times, particularly in the 70s, theatres such as the Space in Cape Town and the Market Theatre in Johannesburg were our solace. They were unifying spaces for all those who were fighting the system. And it was, for me, I realized very, very early in my young years as a child that theatre had a very, very important role to play. I realized the importance of such spaces for our artists to be able to express their voice freely, truthfully, and just fearlessly, So that was my realization with the importance of theatre. So when I was about 5 years old, here's what happened. My parents took me to the amphitheater in Soweto to see a show called Umabata. Now, this was the Zulu adaptation of Shakespeare's Macbeth. In this play, I may not remember, anything. The little that I remember about it was exuberant and lots of energies, witches and song and dance and all that. But one thing that stood out for me on that night, I was about 5, was this little boy who was the same age as me, who was in this play. I remember that he left such an indelible mark on me, and I'll tell you what happened. Towards the end of, or at the end of the show, he walked onto stage. He strutted his stuff to the center stage, and I remember watching this little thing with confidence. He took the audience in, and all that amphitheater. And then he said, "Siyabonga, thank you." Oh my goodness. I thought, in my 5-year-old mind, I thought he spoke such great English, and he was, but he was great. He said a lot of things, but upon getting older, I realized that actually he wasn't speaking great English. It was only 2 words in English, which were thank you. But what stood out for me, and it still makes sense even now at my age, was seeing his presence, seeing how he carried himself on that stage, really feeling oozing confidence, had a voice that filled this whole amphitheater, yet he was just this little boy. The confidence, the intention, you could see that this boy, his intention, he's on a mission to do something, and that was just too marvelous to watch. I remember thinking, I want to be like this boy. I want that he has, to have that confidence, to be able to command respect and attention, and that evening, that memorable evening, really not only exposed me to the magic of theater, but it showed me how powerful one's voice can be, despite your size or your age. So anyway, about 12 years down the line, I then got that opportunity to go to Waterford, as I said. And it was actually here at Waterford where I learned that you could study for the arts. Can you believe it? Wow, I didn't know that before. It was, and I guess blame it on our poor education system at the time, So I learned that, and I was fascinated because that little boy at the amphitheater had planted a seed in me. So at Waterford, to tell you a little bit, they used to have productions from South Africa, professional productions, theatre productions coming over, and we watched so many plays, so many good productions that I always remember. But there is one that I treasured that really made a mark again, to me. It was a play called Boo to the Moon, and it was interesting because it was about these 5 white South African teenagers who get involved in a car accident coming from the matric dance party. A matric dance, I think matric is what you might call, or you call the 12th class. I think that's what you call it in India. So for the first time in my life, I saw my country from a different perspective. This was the first time I was exposed or to a snippet of what the white South African teenagers lived like, what their life was like, what they were thinking about at that time when I knew what black youth was thinking, but I wondered what they were thinking. And this play gave me an insight in what they were feeling, and what their thoughts were. So, I mean, you see, the thing about, I'm sure you might be surprised when I say I knew about, what we were thinking as blacks, and I didn't know about them as whites. You see, our lives were segregated, and I think even now they still are, but things have changed. It was us and them, a clear one, without a doubt. And what was interesting about the play and what I got to see is that although the system of apartheid, that evil system, although it favored them more, or actually it favored them, period, and even though they also had they were much more privileged, compared to their black counterparts, me included, the play showed me how, even with that, what do we call it? Even with that, with the fact that they were favored by the system, it showed me that the apartheid system still failed them, which was an aha moment for me. And it was interesting, to see, and the sadness of it all, that you think you have all these privileges, but yet they're taking away from you as a child. And these 5 teenagers who were in this production reflected that in the most profound way. Their collective voice was so powerful, to a point that I had empathy for them, and their performances were not only brilliant, but they were so truthful. They lived them, and I must say I was very impressed. When they finished performing, I remember, I wanted to ask them, because remember my seed that was planted. I thought, wow, not only do they have the power to tell this story, they are brilliant at it, and I just wanted to learn. I'm a sucker for learning. I thought, I'm going to talk to them after the show and ask them, how do they get to being this great? I didn't want to miss the opportunity, because I missed the opportunity with that 5-year-old friend of mine. So this time I had to ask these young people, as I am, to say, how did you do it, or how do you do it? And I got to know that they were actually trained. Most of them were products of the University of Cape Town's drama school. Wow. And now it meant when I finished at Waterford, UCT, University of Cape Town, that's where I landed. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to learn from the best. And I thought, okay, that's where I'm heading to. So when I got to drama school, it was a very interesting journey. It really exposed me to the discipline of theatre in the true sense of the word. It took me, through processes of breaking down barriers, removing blockages and camouflages that we hide behind. It helped me to work towards finding my authentic voice as a person, as an actor. The journey for me, the journey of transformation really began there at drama school for me. As we explored our physical bodies, our minds, our breath, speech, and so forth. You know, we really explored how far we could go with our voices. It wasn't an easy process, but it was very cathartic, I must say, particularly for some of us who, or most of us who really took the risk, because it is really taking a risk to take chances and explore yourself at the deepest level. We broke down we broke down habits, and we just went, challenged ourselves, challenged our belief systems, and dealt with our pain that we have in the world. And at that time, I personally was going through pain as I had lost my dad. So that process really, really helped me. That part of the training my training as an actor really, really helped me. And what was also a kind of a wake-up call for me at the drama school was, or rather what became clear was the fact that to be a great actor, you had to work on yourself. To be a performer with presence, you really had to be the curriculum. You had to develop your muscle of communication, this muscle of communication that we call voice. You had to really work at it so that you could harness its power to help you put your messages across, using your body, your mind, your heart, to make magic on the stage. At that time at drama school, I learned that, stiff bodies, tight bodies, tension in our bodies with lack of breath support, or woolly tongues, tight jaws, those were not an option if you wanted to be inspirational and creative. Anyway, after this intense training at the drama school, I came back to Johannesburg to start my career as a professional actor. My very first production was at the Market Theatre, and I am grateful for that opportunity. I'm eternally grateful for that, because I had always wished that I could see myself on one of those stages at the Market Theatre. It was a place that I call the voice of the voiceless. So I did a number of shows there at the Market Theatre and around South Africa. A few years later, I got involved in a play, and I was very happy to be cast in this particular production. It was a dream come true. Yes? Well, yes and no, but I'll tell you more about it. Yes, because it was a new play that I really wanted to be in, and I loved the text, but no, because the whole process for us as a team, as an ensemble, was just unpleasant. It really was a nightmare. Look, the play was a well-written, brave political piece that had a lot of potential to inspire, to teach, to transform our audiences. But it failed. We failed it. And I look back, I see, at the reasons why we actually failed. In the ensemble, we had lots of disagreement regarding the interpretation of the text, mainly fueled by difference in coming from different schools of thought. And one would probably wonder, why would that be an issue, really? Yes, that's what I used to think, but for some reason we could not, as a group, as an ensemble, come to an agreement of some sort about the voice that we were trying to give out there. And I think that was failure on our part. But the other thing that I look back at, the director was also helpless, mainly because of his own doing, but that's another story for another day. So the morale on this production was so low, despite some of us even trying to give our all and to support. So it wasn't surprising when really its season got shortened off, and it closed down. I know that I'm not giving you, enough detail and proper, information into this particular subject. But the reason I'm telling you this, I just wanted to show you that, once we are off balance as artists, it's very difficult to do anything constructive. We fail ourselves, and not only ourselves, but we fail even those that we care for, our audience. My takeaway from that experience was that when you're a leader and can't lead, chaos always erupts, and when also you have people who are empty, I don't know how to, when people's souls are empty, they become a danger to themselves and to those around them. And this was the time when I really, really appreciated more than ever before the training that one got, at drama school, because it really made us better thinkers, better at, practitioners who deal with things differently. And this is what I missed in that production that I did. It was a terrible experience, but a good one, a good lesson in a way. And the learnings from that production for me was what I took. And I remember telling myself that anything that I do, as much as one thought, "Ooh, what a terrible experience we had," it was a big lesson. And all those learnings that I gained from that production, I was sure to implement them in any production that I do or in all my work. They were actually lifelong lessons. And when it came time for me to produce my own work, I really remembered those lessons from particularly that production. I did Shwele Bawo later in the years, and it was important for me to make sure that my team, our team, not only understood what the play that I wrote was all about, but also believed in it too. That was important for me, particularly because of the sensitivity of the subject matter, the abuse of women and children. It was important that everybody understood that the power of our story, the story that we were telling, did not only rely on me as the writer, the originator of the work, or the actor, of the work, but it relied on my director, my stage manager, my sound and lighting designers, the technicians, my support actor, all of the people involved in it. I made sure that we were all on the same page, so to speak, and if there were agreements of some sort, because disagreements, we always disagree on things, but we found solutions for those. We sat down because their previous experience had taught me, we have to sit. People must come to the table and really deal with the issues at hand. For example, I remember if we happen to have a new stage manager on the project, my director and I would not just take it for granted that, oh, look, yeah, they have read the script, therefore they know what the text is and it's all good, let us run with it. No. It was important that we sit down and we discuss it. They get to know what the production is about, the journey that I took, why I wrote it, and explained all that seemed difficult maybe in the text for them, be it from a cultural perspective or for language issues and so forth. So for me, it was very important that things were clear for everybody on board, so that we move from the same page. And when we did that, it was very interesting to see how the energy just shifted. The energy improved. You saw every team member upping their game and wanting to do the best for the production. And it was all because we knew that we have a responsibility with this production. We knew that we all wanted to make a difference in our society. We understood that this story was worthy of being told. So we spoke in one voice, which the other production didn't have. We couldn't speak in one voice, and that's why everything fell apart. So what about the power of voice in the theater have I really learned? Well, first, I did learn that to be great at what you do, it starts with you. Working on our presence and being the curriculum, so as to help us remove all the blocks that we have, and hopefully in turn we could be in a position that we receive the support we need from people around, or from our team members, or from the universe, to be our authentic self. And I learned again that the deeper we go into our breath, not only heals our bodies, but it fed our minds positively so. And when we were strong and healthy in our bodies, our power, our voice became powerful. We had strength. It almost reminds me like when we are sick, we would have a very soft voice, but when we are alive, the body, the voice also becomes alive. I always say we are like fish in the water. Every move that the fish makes, those ripples affect the other fish. They touch the other fish. It applies to us too as human beings, as performers, that when we are our authentic selves, we touch those around us in a much more meaningful way. And for me, it's so wonderful to know, because and to appreciate, because theater gives us that permission to go through that, to do that. It gives us permission to work on ourselves so that we can connect with others in a safe space. Our power in the theater is very much dependent on the ensemble, the collective voice. And by bringing in, the voices of our writers, our directors, our characters, our actors, all of those together, we do justice to all the stories that we tell. When those stories are powerful, we can move mountains. And that power of our collective voice in the theater is priceless. It is so priceless. And that was my greatest learning. So now that we are in the world and we see how many of us feel scared and insecure, we're worried because of what is happening in our world with the pandemic. More than ever before, it is important to keep our voice of artists strong and alive, so that we could have, help our communities to survive the status quo. Our creativity as creative people is the lifeline of our people. Our voice, our collective voice, is what keeps us connected. So with that, may we in the theater continue not only to entertain, inspire, educate, but also to give our people hope during these times, and to be strong and powerful voices ourselves for the voiceless. Thank you. I hope I made sense with the little that I had to share with you. I hope that all those stories do reflect that there is power of voice in the theater, and we should treasure that power of our voices as a collective, as a people, as artists. Thank you very much. Shouldn't the director of the play ensure that the ensemble had a collective voice before the public performance? I think I've also done injustice to this story, and I feel, pardon me, all of you, for that, because you are so right. The director has, our director failed dismally, but there were more reasons which I didn't even go into. That's why I said, it was his own doing. It was such a task. It was so difficult, because you see, when you have a production where and the reason I said it's his own doing is because he had favorites, but the favorites then turned against him, and then and there were more things that I would not disclose now, but it showed me that if we are not truthful as ourselves, that becomes a problem. If you are not honest yourself with what you do, you will always encounter problems, and that really worked against him. There were a number of things, and besides the fact that the text was very political but very, very powerful. So the different, schools of thoughts, who disagreed with the content. But my issue was that if you disagree, write your own play. This is the way we have to respect the author's story. It's whoever writes that piece, it is important to respect that and to honor that. The differences, we are all different. We do productions that we do not necessarily believe in, but you believe in the character, and that's where I felt that there was failure on the processes, on the director, because that production, that whole group, we missed out on understanding that it's also not about us. It's about this piece, this offering that we have. And even if you don't disagree with the politics of the play, but we've agreed to doing it, therefore we must embrace those characters, we must live those characters that we choose. I could play say a prostitute, and yet I'm not a prostitute, but I would have to respect and honor and really live that life with respect and appreciation for prostitution, because that would what the character demands. So yes, on many levels we did failures, the learnings and lessons to go ahead. Yes. Have you worked on any Athol Fugard, any plays by Athol Fugard? Your opinion and perspective about his writing? Yes, I have, but as a student, actually, I did at UCT. I did a play called Good Fridays. Yes, Good Fridays. I actually love Athol Fugard. I love his work. I just sometimes find it too wordy. I hope he will bear with me. But I love his work. He really put a lot of issues in South Africa, on paper, and we got to see the lives of South Africans. One particular play that I really love was Busman and Leena. Yes, that's the one I really enjoyed and I love. In fact, every time when we do scenes in all the work that I do, I used to always take some of scenes from Busman and Leena. So I do appreciate his work. I'm trying to think. The other one that I really loved from Athol was it Master Harold and the Boys? That was another piece that really gave a perspective. You could see the white life versus the black life with in the play. So I appreciate him. I thank him. I always say, even with all, because we may not be all happy with everybody and everybody's work, but he really explored our lives as South Africans, and he spoke about ordinary people. I mean, if you look at Busman and Liena, it's people at the lowest level, and to show that we have to we can't survive without each other, so yes, thank you, as you say, namaste, and all the best. Keep well, keep safe. May we be forever strong. May we remember the gifts that we have, that we should not be selfish about them, and in sharing with the people, particularly during these times, these trying times. These are times that could make you be selfish, and go into your own, cocoon and forget. But I think as artists all over the world, because we have had that opportunity to go deeper into ourselves, we can draw in from that and come and really be the lifeline for all our people. So yes, thank you very much for having me. I'm sure if there could be another next time, things will be different and much better. Okay, lots of love. Namaste.